Morning Standard 7. Once again, I welcome you in my class. And today I'm going to start chapter 6 in history, which is about the Delhi Sultanate. In this chapter, I will mention you about the Tughlaqs, the Sayyids, and the Lodis. Apart from this, I will mention you about the timeline period, and I will also discuss about the significance of the nobility codes and land control. And finally, I will explain you about the comparative study of Khiljis and Tughlaqs. So students, since chapter 4, I am having interaction with you over the Delhi Sultanate. We have seen in chapter number 4 the slave dynasty. In the last chapter, chapter number 5, I have explained you about the era of Khilji dynasty. Now in this chapter, I am going to take the Tughlaq dynasty. See students, no doubt Delhi Sultanate is a very vital part of our history. In the Delhi Sultanate was perhaps the first powerful and vast empire which had been established in India. Not only it gave a new religion to India, but also gifted with remarkable rulers to India, whether that is your Razia Sultan, whether that is your Alauddin Khilji or Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Not only the rulers, even in different fields, the Delhi Sultanate had contributed a lot, whether that was the field of your art and architecture, religion, literature, or the other fields. Now, after the death of Alauddin Khilji, you will see the period of Delhi Sultanate was filled with chaos. Okay, so the empire, there was a lot of disorder in the empire. And see, if there is a chaos or disorder in the society, definitely ruler is responsible. The first person who would be responsible for such a situation is the ruler. We have seen the period of Delhi Sultanate where the incompetent rulers, inefficient rulers came to the power, but they were not able to survive for a long time because of their weakness and inefficiency. Same happened here also after the death of Khilji. We are saying that the ruler, the last Khilji ruler, who was very incompetent and inefficient, he was unable to manage the affairs of the state. Because of this, the Ghazi Malik, the governor Ghazi Malik, he took the advantage and he killed him in 1320. After murdering the last Khilji ruler, Ghazi Malik, he ascended the throne and founded a new dynasty called Tughlaq dynasty. Now, why this dynasty is known as Tughlaq dynasty? See, because after coming to the throne, Ghazi Malik assumed the title of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. So this is the story how the Tughlaq dynasty came into power. Now, as I have mentioned you that there was a scenario of chaos, disorder in the society. So as a ruler, when he came to the power, he had to first establish law and order in the society. That was the most prominent work. So ultimately for this, he had taken several administrative measures, and I will explain you about these measures. The first measure which had been taken by him regarding the establishment of law and order in the society was to confiscate all the grants. Yes, he confiscated all those grants which were unlawful. First of all, he established the inquiry to check the unlawful grants, and then he cancelled the grants. See, as you all know that Jagirdari system was very much popular during the era of Delhi Sultanate. Many nobles and even the ruler, administrative officers, governors, they were gifted with the lands. Okay, Jagirs, which was known as Jagirs. So ultimately the claims which were made by the officers or the nobles, that was to be checked properly. Okay, and then those which were unlawful, that has to be confiscated. The second thing, what he has done, he has reorganized his military departments and the postal department. See, it's very important to reorganize your military department because military was the major thing on which the power of a ruler depends. See, even today also, army is very important for us. So likewise, in those days, army was very important part of the empire. So ultimately, as efficient ruler Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, he was well aware of the fact that without reorganization of the military, he would not be able to expand the empire. So he reorganized the military department and the postal department. Now, after that, he also started to take several measures which would ensure the law and order in the society. And for this, he first of all took the measures in the field of police and justice, because these were the people who were responsible for maintaining law and order and for giving justice to the people. Apart from this, he also introduced several measures in the field of agriculture. Agriculture was the major source of income. It was a major part of the economy. So, as an efficient ruler, he was knowing that to maintain his large army, he need the money, and money would come from strong economy. So, to make the economy strong, he had taken several measures in the field of agriculture. First of all, he reduced the taxation. Okay, apart from the reduction of taxes, he also he took several measures which had enhanced the condition of the farmers. Suppose the loans were revived, or loans or those unjust taxations which were extracted from the farmers, that all were cancelled by the ruler. Even the strict punishment was introduced by him for the unlawful extraction of taxes from the by the officers from the farmers. So if the officers, revenue officers, or officers who were collecting the taxes, if they were exploiting the farmers and extracting the extra revenue, definitely they would be punished by the ruler. So there was a strong system which was brought to stop the exploitation of the farmers. Apart from this, he also have gone for the digging of the canals, because canals were very important. As a farmer, if you want, or to make the agriculture strong, you cannot depend only on the natural forces or the rain. You have to go for the other measures also. So to provide proper irrigational facilities to the farmers, he had gone for the construction of many dams and even dug many canals for this purpose. Apart from this, he, as a ruler, he was well aware that the officers who had been appointed in the provinces, they are very much responsible for the society. So ultimately, to maintain a good society, to maintain a peaceful society, he realized the need of good officers, and for this purpose he started appointing a good and efficient governors in the different provinces. Because as a ruler, he was not only he cannot see the whole province, because his empire was already very large. So ultimately, to cater the justice, to cater the governance to everyone properly, he first of all appointed the good governors in his empire in the different provinces. Although Ghiyasuddin, as a ruler, no doubt his reign was a reign of order, and law and order was established during his reign. But as a ruler, he could not survive for a long time. He met with an accident on his way to Bengal. The pavilion which was made in his honor, actually it collapsed, and because of that accident he died. And he was buried in the in the fortress city of Tughlaqabad. Actually, this city was founded by Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq only. Now, after the death of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, his eldest son, Jana Khan, who assumed the title of Muhammad bin Tughlaq when he ascended the throne, he came to power. Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he is one of the most remarkable ruler in Indian history, and he has been given different names by our historians, whether that is a wise fool or a man of great thinking. Now, the period of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. See, he was, as I have mentioned you, he was a great ruler, no doubt in this. Because if you will go through the autobiography of this man, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, you will see he was the only Sultan of Delhi Sultanate who was highly qualified in different subjects, whether that was your philosophy, your physical science, or your other subjects. Even as a ruler, because of his intellectuality, he was far ahead of his time. And as a ruler, he not only excelled in the intellectual field, even he was well versed in Persian and Arabic. As a ruler, he took several measures for the benefit of the people, although they failed, but his measures were far ahead of his time. This man, the account of this man we get from the writers like Ibn Battuta, who came to his court, and he was a traveler actually from Morocco, African country. And this man brought several measures which I will now explain you. Please have attention on this, because these measures are very important. Whenever you will go through Muhammad bin Tughlaq part in history, you will definitely go through his measures. So what were the reasons behind the failure of his measures, and how it shrinked the vast empire which when Muhammad bin Tughlaq came to power, he got a huge empire, vast empire, and how this empire disintegrated because of the failure of his theory. As I have told you, he was very intellectual, but there was a problem in the practical implementation of his theory. His ideas were very sound, his theory or his ideas were very sound, but only in theoretical terms, not in practical terms. And that is the major reason behind the failure of his policies. Now, first I will discuss about the taxation, the major measures which were taken by him. Your used. The first one is your taxation. Taxation in Doab region. Yes, as I have mentioned you that Doab, it is actually a fertile plain area between the valley of Ganga and Yamuna. So it is very fertile, and there is a huge production in agriculture because of the fertility of the land. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he wants to extend his empire. For the extension of the empire, he requires a large army, and for maintaining the army, he needs the resources. So ultimately, to get the resources, what he has done, he introduced the taxation. He introduced a taxation system. According to this taxation system, the farmers were forced to give half of the total produce. So ultimately, when he introduced this, there was no problem, because in the Doab region is already having a good crop production. But when he introduced this measure, at that time Doab was going through severe, it was having a severe, the harvest was severely affected, okay, due to bad weather. So ultimately the production was not good. So when the production was not good, the farmers were already suffering. So how they can bear the heavy taxation? So this was the major reason why the farmers of the Doab, they revolted against the empire. They revolted against the ruler. See, Doab was a very prosperous region, so he wants to take the benefit of this. So he imposed heavy taxation on the people, but due to bad weather condition, the harvest was not good, and people thus revolted against this system, this new system of taxation. Okay. Now let's come to the second one, that is your transfer of capital. See, Delhi was the capital of all the major rulers of Delhi Sultanate, whether that was your slave dynasty, Khilji dynasty, and even during the reign of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq also, Delhi was the capital. But when Muhammad bin Tughlaq came to power, already the empire was extended and he got a very vast empire. So he felt Delhi was not so much centrally located as Devagiri. Okay, Devagiri, you remember, it was a kingdom in the Deccan areas. So he felt that he would be able to pay proper attention over the empire if he ruled from Devagiri. So he wants to shift his capital from Delhi to Devagiri. And he gave Devagiri a new name, that is Daulatabad. Sorry, Devagiri. Now Devagiri was renamed to, sorry, it was renamed as Daulatabad. Now he made this, he kept this idea before the people, and not only kept, even imposed also on the people. Now for shifting his capital from Delhi to Daulatabad, they had to go for a long journey. There is no doubt in this, because nowadays you are having a good communication transport system, but during those days the transportation system was not so much good. The people don't have the airway facilities, or even the roads were also not very good. Although he, as a ruler, he made the road from Delhi to Daulatabad, but people, when he imposed this, that now capital had to be shifted from Delhi to Daulatabad, at that time the journey took place in the summer season. So you can clearly assume the condition of the travelers. So many people died on the way to Daulatabad. They died in this journey. So lot of people died due to this wrong, you can say a wrong decision which was taken by the ruler. So this was the second failure of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, that is your transfer of capital. And even after moving to Daulatabad, shifting to Daulatabad, after 2 years, he realized his mistake and he again moved back to Delhi. Now, token currency. The third one is your token currency. Now let's come to token currency. See, token currency was introduced by Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and it was a major experiment which had been done by him, although this also failed like his earlier measures. So token currency, actually he had introduced this token currency when he heard about the token currency which was introduced by Kublai Khan in China. So he also experimented this in his kingdom. And what was this token currency? See, actually to replenish his treasury, he got the idea to introduce this token currency, and with the introduction of token currency, now the brass coins as well as that copper coins, they were having the same legal value as the gold and silver coins. So you can just assume the condition. The gold and silver coins were having the same legal value as your brass and copper coins. So ultimately people started taking advantage of this. Forgery became very common in the kingdom. The treasury became empty because the currency lost its value, because of the forgery and the brass and copper coins. The every people who were living in the kingdom, they started minting the coins, and thus because of this chaos, because of this lack of proper implementation of the program, what happened? The treasury became empty, the trade came to stand still, the economy collapsed. And after 4 years, Muhammad bin Tughlaq realized his mistake, and he took this measure back. He took this policy of token currency back. And although after realizing his mistakes, although he was very late, because in these 4 years, the treasury of the kingdom, it became empty. And because of empty treasury, the economy collapsed. And you can just assume the condition, if your economy become a collapse, so definitely it had an impact over the different areas, whether that is your social life, whether that is your political life, whether that is your other areas of life. So all had been affected, no doubt in this, and that made Muhammad bin Tughlaq as a very unpopular ruler among the masses, because people were suffering because of his experimentation. Okay. Now, next one is your mixed military expeditions. The last one is your military expeditions. Now, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, as a ruler, he was very ambitious one, and he also wants to expand his empire not only in India but beyond the borders of India. So he planned to conquer Khurasan and Iraq. For this, he recruited even 370,000 men in his army and even paid to them for 1 year. But finally, he had to give up. He had to drop this idea. And why? Because he realized that it was very difficult for the army to cross the snowy mountains of Himalayas. So ultimately, for this reason, he get back, he dropped the idea. And here also he had to face again the failure. Although for the maintenance of army, for the payment of the army, he had already invested a lot. So again, he had to face the setback, and not only the ruler was facing the setback, people were suffering because of his experiments. And here also, when he was trying to expand his kingdom, his ideas were theoretical. He, as a ruler, he could not realize that what are the limits of his army. And finally, when he realized, it was very late. Already he had paid a lot to the army, already he had invested a lot on the maintenance of the army. So from all these measures, you can become very clear about Muhammad bin Tughlaq. See, all these measures were adopted by him, they were introduced by him. Now let's come to the what were the results of the various measures which were taken by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So I have summed up here about the result of the measures which were taken by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Just you have a look. See student, now I am going to explain you about this. The first one is that it resulted in the suffering of people. See, when a ruler tries to experiment the things and that experiments fail, definitely people will suffer. That's why whether that was introduction of token currency or your transfer of capital or even the military expeditions, the major part of suffering came from the common people, because they were imposed with heavy taxation, they were imposed with a new system of movement from one place to another. I have already mentioned you that many people lost their lives on the way to Daulatabad. So ultimately, all these measures which were taken by Muhammad bin Tughlaq, they brought misery and suffering to the people. The first thing. Second one, the local chiefs resented against the ruler. Yes, the local chiefs. Okay, because at that time also empire was ruled by the ruler. There was autocracy, but the kingdom was bifurcated into different provinces, and the provinces have their governors or the local chiefs. So the local chiefs also, they raised their voice against the ruler because of the lack of proper implementation of the ideas. Not only the common people were suffering, even the people who were the part and parcel of the administration, they were also having the sufferings. So they raised their voice because they felt that the ruler is incompetent, because they felt that the ruler is fool. He is not trying to having the practical knowledge, and because of that lack of practical knowledge, the people are suffering. So ultimately, the local chiefs, they resented against Muhammad bin Tughlaq. The third one, the economy collapsed. Yes, I have already mentioned you that the token currency which was introduced, and it was a major experiment which was brought by Muhammad bin Tughlaq, but this experiment totally not only failed, but it also collapsed. Okay, it collapsed the economy. The economy was finished because of this token currency, and that was very clear to you how. Because the copper and the brass coins which were having the same legal value of the gold and your silver, definitely people started going for minting these coins. And when they started minting the fake coins, there was forgery in the market. in the kingdom. So ultimately this forgery led to the corruption, and corruption and forgery, they ruined the economy. So not only trade came to stand still, but also the economy was finished because of this new experiment. Now, the last one. Empire disintegrated. Yes, you will see when Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he ascended the throne, he got a very vast empire. Okay, he was the ruler who was having control over the southern parts of India also. But because of his measures which were unsuccessful, now there was disintegration of the Delhi Sultanate. And how this disintegration happened? As I have told you that the local chiefs dissented, so definitely they started revolting against the ruler. Here you will see that the forts of Ranthambore, it was recovered by the Rana of Mewar. Okay, the forts of Ranthambore and Chittor, it was recovered by the Rana of Mewar. Not only this, Bengal and Sindh, they regained their independence. And in the southern part, if you will see in the Deccan areas, you will see the new kingdoms came into existence. The new kingdoms came into existence. That is your Bahmani kingdom and Vijayanagar kingdom. So how this disintegration happened? When a ruler is efficient one, when he is a strong personality, when he is a able ruler, definitely the empire will emerge. The empire will expand. It will not submerge. But here the empire was disintegrating. It was disintegrating into fragments because of all these failure policies adopted by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So I don't think so there is any confusion regarding the results of measures which were taken by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now I am moving to the next topic. So now let's come to Firoz Shah Tughlaq. After the death of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Firoz Shah Tughlaq came to power, and he was cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. See, as a ruler, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, we have seen a great failure. So after the era of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, there was a period where there was a chaos, there was a resentment among the people. So in order to establish control over the public, in order to establish control over the court, now Firoz Shah Tughlaq had to he had to face a major challenge, because I have already told you that whether the people living in the court, or whether the local chiefs or the governors, most of the part of Delhi Sultanate during the era of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, they were unsatisfied by the ruler Muhammad bin Tughlaq. And Firoz Shah Tughlaq, he was well aware of the fact that Muhammad bin Tughlaq was not successful because of the lack of support of nobles and ulemas. See, nobles were very powerful during the reign of Delhi Sultanate. There is no doubt in this. We have seen how nobles, they have not accepted Razia as a ruler, and how they had conspired against her and overthrew her. Even not only Razia Sultan, major rulers who did not got the support of the nobles, who were very powerful in the court, ultimately they were either overthrown or murdered, or they were displaced. So ultimately the support of ulemas and the nobles was very crucial for the ruler to rule efficiently. So realizing this, first of all, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, in order to win the support of the ulemas, he took several measures. Like he started ruling according to the laws of Islam, Shariat laws. Okay, so he started ruling according to the Shariat laws, and this is the reason why he was supported by the nobles and ulemas, who were very orthodox, who wants to introduce Islamic culture in India. And for this reason, Firoz Shah Tughlaq introduced these Shariat laws. Now the system of administration, especially the law and order, would be run by this Shariat system. Okay. Apart from this, he also started the Jagirdari system, which was abolished by Alauddin Khilji. Yes, he restarted this system. Because Zagirdari, according to this system, lands were granted to the nobles and ulemas and other administrative officers. So it was a step which was taken to get the support of nobles. Apart from this, you will also see that he not only so, as a ruler, he not only took steps to win the support of the nobles and ulemas living in the court, but also he took several economic measures to revive the economy. As I have told you, because of the failure of economic policies took by Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the economy had collapsed, and because of the decline of the economy, now the first major task as a ruler before him was to revive the economy. For the revival of the economy, he had taken several steps. The first one is he abolished the unjust dues. As I have told you, farmers were burdened with the taxation system. Even there were cases which shows that there was unlawful extraction of dues and taxes from the farmers. So it was a kind of exploitation of farmers. So first of all, he took strict steps regarding this. He he stopped all those unlawful extraction of dues which were done by the officers against the farmers. Okay. The second thing, he introduced strict punishment. Yes, strict punishment for what? He introduced strict punishment for curbing the corruption. Whether that was exploitation done by the officers against the farmers, or exploitation done by the people who were in the other professions, he took very severe steps to curb the corruption which was prevailing in the empire. So because curbing the corruption was very important step, because if people are exploited, definitely they will not favor the ruler. They will ultimately feel that the ruler is responsible for the condition. So Firoz Shah Tughlaq, he wants to improve the condition of the people, and he was well aware of the fact that with the exploitation prevailing in the society, the condition of the people cannot be improved. So he introduced strict punishment for those who were exploiting the farmers, the small artisans, or other ones. Okay. Next one is he dumped canals and wells. Yes, as I have told you that agriculture was a major part. Agriculture was very important for the people at that time, and as a ruler also he was knowing that the major part of income is coming from your agriculture. So in order to enhance the condition of agriculture, he not only started the measures to dug out the canals and wells for providing irrigational facilities to the farmers, but also he introduced several measures to enhance the conditions of farmers. As I have mentioned you that he abolished he abolished all those dues which were prevailing earlier. And next step in regarding this was that he also started a new system according to which the loans which were given to the suffering peasants, they were cancelled. Okay, all the loans which were given to the suffering peasants, they were cancelled. Now come to the next step. The next one is that he established karkhanas. Yes, see, artisans and the people who were indulged in the work of art and craft, they were also an important part of the economy. So in order to improve the condition of the artisans and the craft workers, he introduced the karkhanas. He established the karkhanas that helped them to revive their work, and not only it helped in the revival of the works done by the artisans and craftsmen, but also it improved the condition of the artisans. Now next one is your curbed corruption. Yes, as I have mentioned you that corruption was prevailing at that time, and many steps were taken by the ruler to curb this corruption. And one major step was introduction of a strict punishment regarding those who were encouraging the corruption or who were exploiting the people. So these are the some of the economic measures which were taken by Firoz Shah Tughlaq, and Firoz Shah Tughlaq had taken all these measures which helped him to revive the economy. It These steps were not the failure, it was the achievement which has been it was the achievement of Firoz Shah Tughlaq as a ruler, because he was able to revive the economy after taking all these measures. Just have a look over these measures. Now, I will move to other several measures which were taken by Firoz Shah Tughlaq in other areas, especially in the social life, to enhance the social life of the people. He even took several welfare measures. So, I will discuss now about that. Now, let's come to the social measures which were taken by Firoz Shah Tughlaq as a ruler. See, Firoz Shah Tughlaq will be always remembered as a efficient ruler, as a very kind ruler, because during his reign you will see major works were also done in the field of social life of people to enhance and improve the social condition. He had taken many measures. I've written all these four measures which I'm going to discuss with you. The first one is he introduced Diwan-e-Khairat. Diwan-e-Khairat was actually a charitable agency of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, which was having the responsibility to do the work of charity, whether that was a building of hospitals, building of schools, or providing relief to the people during the during the natural calamities. So all the charitable works were done by this body, Diwan-e-Khairat. Okay, and it was established by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Now, second one, he established Employment Bureau. See, to enhance the economy, to revive the economy, to make the people's condition good, it was very important to provide the employment opportunities to the people. So ultimately, to solve this problem, he established Employment Bureau, which would provide the employment opportunities to the people, which would look after the problems of the youth. Okay. Now, next one, he founded Darul Safa. Darul Safa is actually the hospital. Okay, it is the term used for the hospital which was established by Firoz Shah Tughlaq, and this hospital was responsible for the distribution of free medicines to the people. See, it was a charitable work which was done by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Now, judicial system was made more humane and just. Yes. After coming to the throne, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, he introduced many measures and he started running the administration according to the dictates of Islam. Okay, and he made the judicial system more just and humane. He abolished the severe punishment as severe torture, not punishment. I would say the severe torture which had been done earlier to the people or the criminals. So these all had been abolished. So now these are the social measures. Please just have a look. Now, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, if we move to the military expeditions of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, the military conquest, as other rulers of Delhi Sultanate, he had also gone for the military conquests, and these military conquests were, you can say that it was a failure for him, because if you will see that the conquest done by him against the Bengal or Sindh, he was unable to recover it. Okay, recover Bengal and Sindh, and even the expedition against the Sindh was a major failure. The Deccan areas and the southern part also remain. He was unable to recover it back. Many of the territories which disintegrated from the Delhi Sultanate, he was unable to get it back. So ultimately, all these failures shows that as a ruler, he lacked military qualities. He lacked the qualities of a good general, because of which he was unable to expand the kingdom to a large extent like the other rulers. Okay. Now let's come to the Firoz Shah Tughlaq's work, which were done in the field of architecture, art and architecture, and even you can say that he is even still today regarded as a great builder. He was having a passion for building, and as a builder, he founded new cities of Hisar, Jaunabad, Firozabad. See here, just have a look. He founded the cities of Jaunpur, Fatehbad, Firozpur, Firozabad, and Hisar. So it shows that he was having a great passion for buildings, and he founded these cities during his reign. Apart from this, he also built many palaces, tombs, even your hospitals, temples. During his era, you will see the construction of these temples, mosques were very common. Even sarai were built to provide water facility, especially during the summer season. And he also revived Hoj Khas. Hoj Khas was actually the royal tank which was built by Alauddin Khilji. So it was in deteriorated condition. So he revived it. He brought it back to provide the water facilities to the people. Now, in the field of literature also, the contribution of Firoz Shah Tughlaq is not less. Even during his era, you will see the notable historians like Ziauddin Barni, where the courtmans were the historians who were patronized by him. And he, you can say that as a patron of learning, he even translated many Sanskrit books into Persians. And during his era only, Ziauddin Barni, who was patronized by him, he had written a great book which is about the interpretation of the Delhi Sultanate up to Firoz Shah Tughlaq era. So it is a book. The name of the book is your Tarikh-e Firoz Shahi. So Tarikh-e Firoz Shahi was the interpretation of history of Delhi Sultanate up to Firoz Shah Tughlaq's time, and it was written by Ziauddin Barni, and it is a great book because it provides you with the great details of the Delhi Sultanate era. Okay. Apart from this, you will see the autobiography of Firoz Shah Tughlaq was written by Sultan, and the name of his autobiography was Fituhat Firoz Shahi. Okay, and it was written by Sultan. So you can just sum up that Firoz Shah Tughlaq was a great ruler, no doubt. During his era, he had taken several steps to improve the condition of the people. For 37 years, he ruled, and he was able to rule for such a long period because of his efficiency. And as although there are some exceptions in the military field, we are seeing that the conquests which were taken by him was a failure, but as a ruler he will be always remembered for the social welfare works, for the different measures which helped him to revive the economy, to revive the political and social conditions in Delhi Sultanate period. So after his death in 1388, yes, 1388 he died, and after his death there was a war of succession between his descendants. So ultimately, when there is a war, the empire becomes weak, and taking the advantage of the weak empire, there is an invasion. So during this era, you will see there was an invasion by Timur land. So the Tughlaq dynasty cannot continue for a long time because of this invasion. And finally, many of the rulers, many of the governors or local chiefs, they even declared themselves independent from the Tughlaq dynasty. So after the death of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, there was again a period of political instability. Again, I am finishing here. After this, in the second video, I will continue the remaining parts. So, thank you, students.